Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel, and we are heading into a brand new year, so I thought why not do a bit of a wrap up of 2022 and really get an assessment of where we are in terms of working from home after a full year where working from home was no longer an absolute requirement due to the pandemic, but now it's become more of a way of life and we've really transitioned to a new form of work. So 2022 was definitely the year of working from home. Let's dive into some of the statistics, which will hopefully give us a sense of where we are going to be going with working from home in the new year. One of the big recent stats is coming out of September 2022. There was an assessment done, and across the entire world, it's determined that about 16% of companies are fully remote. So that means they are not doing hybrid, they are not having in-person offices, but instead they are fully remote. So everything about their businesses are functioning virtually. And this is a really big jump because going into the pandemic back in 2020, there was only about 5% of businesses who were functionally fully remote. And looking at where people's attitudes are regarding working from home, now there has been a massive shift over the last couple of years where working from home is no longer considered so much of a perk, but more and more considered part of normal work life. In a recent poll done by FlexJobs, 95% of those who polled expected that there should be some level of flexibility that comes with their job, and over 74% expected that working from home or having the option to work remotely should be considered a normal aspect of their employment. All right, so we definitely know that people are expecting for work from home to be considered part of the regular run-of-the-mill options when it comes to work, and this has really become normalized in our everyday life. But the question is, where are we exactly now? What does that actually look like now that we have had a full year of more normalcy, where working from home has shifted a little bit from a necessity to more of an expectation? So in a study done across the United States, about 47.5% of offices are now back in person. So this was an estimate done by Castle Systems, and it was to sort of do a survey over how many commercial office buildings were back into occupation. So relatively, we're looking at under 50%, which means that commercial business has still taken a huge hit because many companies are obviously still having a lot of their employees work from home and work remotely. So we definitely haven't returned immediately back to pre-pandemic numbers. So that means that working from home life has continued to be a huge factor in the workforce. So let's look at the breakdown of how things have shifted, because we know that many people have continued to always be in the workplace. There are some jobs that just simply cannot be done from home, and that is always going to be the reality. But we know that some things have begun to shift over the last couple of years. We know there's a number of people who have returned to working in person full-time. There are many people who are now engaging in a hybrid work model, which is where you're able to work from home some of the week and you're working in person in an office space the rest of the week. So there is a combination happening, and many people have shifted to this model. And then there's another portion of people who are still continuing to work permanently only in their home exclusively. They never have to go into the office in person. According to WFH research, they surveyed all of the United States, and here are the breakdown numbers that we are seeing. 17% of full-time employees with a bachelor degrees or more is working permanently from home. So they are fully remote, they are functioning completely virtually, and they never have to go into an office in person. 41% are working full-time in person, and 42% are working in a hybrid situation. So they are working sometimes in the office and sometimes at home. Those are still really big numbers. 16% of the workforce still working only virtually is pretty big. And then 42% working in a hybrid situation is still really huge. Like, that is a very big number of the amount of workforce that has continued to have at least some of their time working from home. So that shows us that working from home life is really here to stay. Another way we can really get a sense of what is happening in the work from home world is in terms of commercial real estate. Now, commercial real estate has taken a massive hit over the last couple of years, and this decline is showing us that they are really expecting that working from home life will continue, and that they're really going to need to figure out a new model or a new use for a lot of these commercial spaces. According to a study done by Columbia University, they're expecting that US commercial offices could lose about $522 billion in value from now until 2029. And that is a massive windfall of loss in value, because now you're finding that a lot of these commercial spaces are no longer going to be of use. Not only do you have businesses that have shifted to working from home and having a lot of their employees work remotely, but you're also seeing this in government levels as well. It's not just business. A number of government departments have also shifted to working from home. If you're just looking at North America, for example, a lot of the American and Canadian governments have shifted to working from home over the pandemic, and many of that still continues. And for government departments, they often don't own the buildings that they have their employees work in. They often simply rent them, which is a huge expense for the government. And therefore, if they are able to reclaim some of this money in terms of their budgets, it makes a lot of sense for governments as well. So why wouldn't they take the opportunity to save some of that money? So 2022 was definitely the year of working from home. And though we have definitely seen some bounce back in terms of some organizations and companies returning to having some in-office life, it is definitely not returned to the numbers of pre-2020. This is definitely not a trend or a fad. This is clearly something that is going to continue on for the future. I think working from home has really shifted the entire labor force, and I think we're going to see this continue on. This is not going to be something that's just going to magically go away. It's really shifted how we work. And if you look at certain points within history, I'm a bit of a history nerd, and I love looking at how history sort of repeats itself. And we've seen major shifts in how we work over the years, right? From the Industrial Revolution to the introduction of, unions, how unions push for certain labor rights to be put into factor, like weekends and having set work hours. These are things that have never returned back to the way they are. They have things that we have accumulated in terms of how we approach work, and they are now part of what we establish of what is a normal work day or work week. So I think this is something that's going to really continue on in the future, and it really is the new normal. Now, what we've definitely seen at the end of 2022, heading into the new year, that there is definitely some pressure coming from certain corporations that are requiring more and more of their employees to come back in person. I know Elon Musk made the news recently with Twitter, where he was establishing that he no longer wanted certain offices to work at all virtually, that he's expecting that a number of his employees to come in person. I know Apple has had some fights in the past with some of their employees where they're trying to bring more and more people back into the office. But we've also seen other major organizations completely shift to fully remote. Shopify is a massive company home-based in here in Canada, and they completely shifted to an entirely remote model. They gave up their massive lease and they decided to have all of their employees work from home. It's definitely not consistent. Different companies have definitely established different sources of work culture. They have definitely come up with different ideas of what they feel is going to work from them. So we're heading into the new year with some of that pushback. We are definitely starting to see some organizations requiring more and more work from in the office, but we have others that are kind of settling into that hybrid model or are fully embracing working fully remotely. I think one of the biggest challenges that many people are going to be facing in 2023 in terms of business and how we have sort of structured our society is really how working from home life has really shifted the downtown core, sort of the urban versus suburban lifestyle. Obviously, working from home has really gutted a lot of urban centers. So major cities across the world have seen that there is sort of a pullback that has happened from the city centers. Many people have left living downtown, or we're not seeing as much business and traffic of folks downtown because there's no longer much of that draw. We never really realized how many people end up going down into the downtown core, mainly because they had to work there, and therefore we've seen sort of a gutting of a lot of the restaurants and businesses that are downtown. And for many cities, this has become like unsustainable, and they're really struggling about how they're going to make this work. So I think that's going to be one of the major challenges in the news. You've seen more and more politicians sort of being lobbied and pushed by businesses to really figure out a way how to get more folks downtown. It's unfortunate to see downtown core sort of fall apart, or for you see businesses downtown not thriving, and that's not something we necessarily want to see. But I think that we also have to figure out a different way to create some of that attention and traffic downtown without completely trying to see work from home as this like enemy of, you know, the downtown core, and instead figure out how we can embrace this new way of working from home and maybe finding new innovative ways to get people to still travel to downtown and to still frequent these businesses that exist down there, or create new attractions, new sets of community, and maybe new activities that would make families and individuals head to the downtown core to still see some of that thriving life in the urban centers. So this was a really quick breakdown on some of the major stats that we've seen come out of 2022 regarding working remotely. I hope this is helpful to you. I really like diving into some of the news and the statistics that are coming out, because it really helps us get a sense of where we're going in the future. And there's so much of this, you know, debate about whether working from home is just a fad. But I think when we look at some of these major stats and numbers, we realize that working from home life is probably going to be here to stay. So I'm going to dive into this a little bit more in my next video. I'm going to be tackling what are the trends for 2023 in terms of working from home, and really diving into all of the reasons why it may or may not continue in the new year. I hope you enjoyed this video. If there's anything that you think that I missed or some major statistics that you found really interesting, definitely leave some comments down below, and I will see you next time. Hey everyone, back. That's a really good start. Can't even do my opening. Because many with their work. People who have returned